If you are looking for the best social media strategies for your small business in 2020, then this is going to be an awesome segment for you. We are talking with Justine Beauregard. She's the owner of Muriel Marketing and has scaled her own business up to 1,800% year after year. And she helps hundreds of entrepreneurs worldwide serve more people and achieve more in their marketing goals. Justine has a marketing community called Growth Mindset Marketers. And she uses that to help entrepreneurs grow using the same easy, fun, and effective marketing strategies that she has used to grow her own business. So Justine, I know social media marketing is a hot topic for so many people.
Yes.
And this was a question that we started getting these questions before the summit, real specific things about, how does this platform work? How does that platform work? And I think with social media, there's so much. So where do we get started in looking at our social media strategy for 2020?
Yeah, so I think the way you get started is realizing where your audience spends the most time, right? Like you want to be visible and add value where your audience is. So I tell this to my community members all the time, it's a little bit of a compromise. Like if you love Facebook and you're all about Facebook and it's easy for you to use, there's 2.4 billion active users every day on Facebook. The chances that your audience is not on Facebook is slim to none. You can make it work for your audience, but if you know that your brand is super visual and all of your audience members are going to love seeing pictures of what you're doing and they're going to engage with you a lot more on Instagram, work to make your brand more present on Instagram while you're building value over on Facebook. So there's a good combination of the two. And that's just one example, but really it's about knowing and deeply understanding what your audience craves and how to give it to them.
I love that. So let's just go through the different platforms real quick and say kind of what's, if people are still evaluating what platforms should be on, what is the great strength of Instagram?
So in my opinion, and I think everyone has their thoughts about why each platform is the best, I like Instagram for the fact that it is so visual. And if you're an influencer or desire to be one, then you should be on Instagram. That's kind of where the long form blog posts kind of become social posts, and that's where they live. And you can really build a great presence if you have something that's more visual. Like I've made my brand more visual by getting brand photo shoots done every quarter and putting pictures of me and messages that I want to share on my Instagram. But there are so many brands that can use Instagram in that way to really engage with their audience and show them their beautiful products. Or if they're a photographer, that's a great space to be. Or if they have, even I work with people who have businesses that are like travel agencies and they show all the different places that they travel to, and that's enticing. And, so there's many different ways that you can get in on Instagram, and you don't have to be selling a product or have pictures of your products to have a visual presence that way.
Awesome. Okay. What about Pinterest? Who do you recommend Pinterest is good for?
So Pinterest, typically it's actually more focused on like product-based businesses to start. And now it's getting way more into the service industry. So Pinterest has really been focused a lot more on people creating like lifestyle brands or serial bloggers, or people, even now like coaches like me are ramping up their presence. I actually have in my community, I'm having an expert come in and talk more about Pinterest and how to leverage it for growth, because it's not something that I have personally used for my business yet. But seeing all the explosive use of Pinterest recently for services, I was like, I want to know more about that. So that's definitely something I'll be looking into.
Yeah, I think Pinterest is great for bloggers. If any of you are bloggers, you should be on Pinterest, because every time someone shares your pin, it's a new link back to your website. So it's link building, which helps with your SEO on your blog.
Bloggers, course creators,
yeah.
Yes.
Okay, what about, who do you recommend LinkedIn for?
Honestly, anyone and everyone should be on LinkedIn. That is my opinion. I have had a LinkedIn presence for many years, and even in my consulting business. So I have two businesses. When I started Muriel Marketing back in 2015, I leverage LinkedIn and have built my business entirely on referrals, just from building on LinkedIn and then getting the people on LinkedIn to write me really glowing recommendations and having a really great profile for people to find me, and writing articles on LinkedIn was all that I did to grow my business to 5-figure months in under a year. And LinkedIn is great for just having that trust and credibility built into your brand. Like, this is what I do and who I am, and this is my resume and my background. It's not like something that everyone needs to use to get clients necessarily, but it is great to have that additional presence. And because this is the Visibility Summit, having that extra visibility in a way that's super professional and shows that you have a legitimate company. And
Yeah.
I think that just helps establish your brand that way.
Well, and I do think the algorithms on LinkedIn are really friendly. Like when I post, I can post the same post on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And I'm going to get way more views on LinkedIn than I'm at anywhere else. So I love that about it. Okay. Talk to me about Twitter, because I just don't do Twitter. So who is Twitter good for?
Twitter is good for
Besides, like celebrities.
No, I'm just kidding. Twitter, I talk about Twitter like speed dating. I feel like Twitter is one of those places where you will never get clients from Twitter. It's really just a place for you to go. It's like meeting people in a bar. Like, you kind of walk up to the bar, you talk to someone for 2 minutes, you're like, nah, not interested, and then you walk away. Like, the feed moves so quickly in Twitter. It's really just like, here's my thought, here's my opinion. I find it very superficial. I don't think it adds much value but it takes a lot of time
Yeah.
to throw a lot of effort into it. So I am not, as you can probably tell, a huge fan of Twitter for growing a business.
Okay. What about some of the newer upcoming platforms? Are there any platforms that you have your eye on that you think we should be paying attention to?
I'm curious about TikTok. That's been coming up a lot. I don't know anything about it yet, but I've been seeing people posting videos a lot, and they're like, oh, you got to check out TikTok. I created this over there. And so that's definitely something that I'm going to be looking into, but I'm not sure it's a good fit for my business. But I think definitely for like those lifestyle brands or people with products, it could be really interesting.
Awesome. Okay. Now, do you use YouTube very often? Because YouTube is an interesting platform where it's not quite social media. It's more of a search engine, but
Yeah.
we think of it as kind of social. It has some social elements. What are your thoughts there?
It's actually close to surpassing Google in terms of search engine. It's huge. And I think a lot of people underestimate YouTube, to be honest. I haven't done much with YouTube yet because for my consulting business, I've grown that without really having to market myself, which is funny because I'm a marketer. But on the other side, I've just built my community since August, and I've been really focused on Facebook, and that's been incredible for my growth. And it's kind of like me knowing where my people are. But I think YouTube is definitely one of those spaces where the more people that I talk to that have visual brands, I'm like, if you do video, just take your Facebook lives, download them, and put them on YouTube. Like, just start getting on YouTube. I should really follow my own advice there, but people, if you know how to use the right keywords and link up your videos and start getting people to subscribe, it can blow up really fast.
Yeah, I tell my clients that YouTube is the high maintenance girlfriend that is very demanding and will not be ignored, because she has a lot of work and she is demanding, but oh my gosh, is it a powerful search engine. So I have videos that I made actually about LinkedIn. My LinkedIn playlist is my highest performing playlist, almost a year ago, and I still get new leads every single week from them. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm actually launching a podcast this year, and I was thinking about taking the podcast episodes and just throwing them on YouTube and see how that comes to pass.
We should talk. I have some tips on that. I've got a client that we're doing that strategy right now, but longer than we can do in the next 4 minutes. So, okay, talk to me about Facebook groups and how people can utilize those, because you're doing a Facebook community, which
Yeah.
means you're using groups. So, how does that work, and what should people be thinking of and looking at there?
Yeah, so groups, I was actually just talking about this earlier because Facebook, I don't know if you've noticed this, I'm sure you have, but they've actually been running ads like all over the place for Facebook groups and encouraging people to start them. And I think a lot of people get discouraged because they start a group and it gets like 10 people in it and they invite their friends and family, not their core audience. And then they kind of post when they feel like it, and then they don't get any momentum, and then they just abandon it. And there are so many groups like that. If you search for groups in Facebook, you'll see like 1 member, 5 members, 12 members. Like there's so many small groups where I'm really intentional about creating groups. So I have my paid community where people join my private Facebook group that they pay to be a part of, where I do group coaching calls and tons of other stuff in there. And then I have a free group. And I launched this in December, and it already has almost 1,000 people in it. And the way that I've grown that, I'm actually doing a training in that group about how I grew it so quickly. And I didn't invite my friends. I didn't run any ads. Every single person in there is intentionally in there because they wanted to be and they value the content. And the way that that comes to be is through super high valuable content in there all the time and being consistent. I'm not in there every day, far from it, but I do marketing tip Mondays where every Monday I share my favorite tip and I give homework to the people in the group so that they can either take it and run with it and come back and report their success and progress with it, or they can put it in their back pocket for later. And then I show up once a month and I do these really high value trainings that are sort of a preview of what my paid community is like, where I coach them on a specific thing. And that to me right now is enough, where people are engaged. Every time I do a welcome post, I get 30 out of the 50 people commenting on it, and people are engaging with each other. They're introducing their business. And so I think if you create it as a space for people to learn and grow together, then they'll be way more engaged and more excited. And if you want to learn how to grow your group like I grew mine, I'm actually doing a training on the 14th that's all about how I did that.
Awesome. And do we have your group link? Can you tell us that, what the name of the group is, so we can drop that in?
Yeah, it's Marketing Trainings for Online Entrepreneurs, and I just linked it in the chat.
Awesome. Perfect. Okay, so I think you should all join the group because I do think groups are really powerful. And I know from firsthand experience exactly what she's talking about, because I have archived groups with over 1,000 people because I was sick of the non-engagement. I was like, whatever, if you people aren't going to engage, I'm not spending my time on you, instead of from the beginning building it to be a group that has engagement. And so I really recommend, if that's something you're thinking about, go jump in, join her group, learn from her, and get the strategies in place. So Justine, how do you want people to connect with you?
Yeah, so my company that I'm actually focused on building is Growth Mindset Marketers, and it's a community for growth where I teach marketing strategies, mindset, and all of that. And you can find me on Facebook. Obviously, that's my space. That's my platform of preference. But I'm also on Instagram, and I also have a website, www.growthmindsetmarketers.com.
Awesome. So good. Well, thank you for being on today, and